I've been away for quite a while, guys. You know, life, life is definitely lifing, to say the least. But I'm alive, I'm well, so I'm just happy to be back to be able to make a new video for you guys today. And so today I wanted to actually do some design concepts for one of my favorite game series, Pikmin. We'll be designing 3 new types that could possibly appear in future games of the series, or fingers crossed, Pikmin 4 DLC. That would be amazing for a game I've already loved so much. But yeah, we'll be doing that today, so stay tuned for that, and alright, let's get started. Alright guys, so before we get into the drawing, I wanted to bring up my thought process for these 3 Pikmin types. There's a known theory within the Pikmin community that relates to the colors of the Pikmin Nintendo is choosing for the new types in new installments of the series. And if we look at this color spectrum, we have every color excluding orange, brown, and I guess black, if you count the rock Pikmin as gray. This also correlates to the good ending of Pikmin 1, as those color onions can be seen, excluding brown. Also, with glow Pikmin, even though they are green, they function a bit different from any other Pikmin type thus far, being exclusive to night mode and caves. So we don't have a standard green Pikmin that functions like reds, blues, or yellows, for example. So my thinking here was to create 3 new types that function as traditional Pikmin, that act during normal days and leave the planet's surface, and the onion once the sun sets. Okay, now that that's been explained, let's get into the first new type, design. Alright, so the first Pikmin type that we'll be designing is the orange spore Pikmin. This Pikmin will have the ability to create spores on larger enemies like this red Bulborb here, that deals damage over time rather than outright killing it like, say, a white Pikmin's poison would. This would give the player the option to throw these guys on a large enemy that would do small amounts of damage over a period of time, allowing the player to finish other tasks during the day. A unique trait to this spore Pikmin is that they would be able to not be able to be shaken off by predators, meaning the player could toss a few on the enemy earlier within the day and not worry about losing those Pikmin. This would also open up an opportunity for a new enemy type. I thought about maybe even like some species of snitch bug that would basically be more predatory and be able to snatch the spore Pikmin off the enemies and eat them, making it a priority to the player to defeat them before using any other spore Pikmin in that area. The more mature spore Pikmin is, there would be a slight damage increase in the amount of damage they do over time, but not by very much. And I actually had a theory behind maybe like how these spore Pikmin came to be. My theory behind the spore Pikmin evolution is essentially a type of Puffman that the onion was able to generate from absorbing Puffstool. So basically, you know, Olimar makes a note in Pikmin 4 that like maybe the onion is playing more of a role in the evolution of Pikmin than even he thought or realized. So maybe the Pikmin brought back a Puffstool to the onion, and when over time it evolved into these spore Pikmin we see now. And because they essentially evolved from Puffstools, it would be inherently immune to any Puffstool like spores. So when that player was like, say a player is fighting a Puffstool and the Puffstool uses a spore attack, any of the spore Pikmin will not be affected by it. So they would be kind of effective against fighting against them, as other Pikmin would be either, you know, depending on the game, have the confused state or turn into the Puffstool or the Puffman. And when it comes to poison hazards, the spore Pikmin will still be able to be hurt by poison. So white Pikmin will still be the go-to choice for any like poison hazards or poison type enemies. And that's just a way to kind of balance all the Pikmin types. The last ability that I'm going to touch on with these guys, spore Pikmin, is their ability to take full control over smaller enemies like dwarf Bulborbs or like downy Snagrets, for example. And this is a mechanic that I believe that the developers for Pikmin 4 were considering actually putting into the game. basically having the ability to take control over enemies like Bulborbs. But eventually I think that evolved into what we saw with Ochi. So it'd be cool if they revisited that in a future game, of like actually having a Pikmin type that could take control over smaller enemies. So the Spore Pikmin basically be able to take full control over the enemy. The player would basically throw the Pikmin onto a smaller enemy, and there would be like a counter or a gauge, similar to like the Ice Pikmin. When you're fighting with them, like there's like a gauge that fills around the enemy's health bar. It'll be a similar thing with the Spore Pikmin. And eventually what happens is when the Spore Pikmin's gauge is full on that enemy, they take full control over it. And again, it'll be like smaller enemies like Dwarf Bulborbs, like the Sheer Grubs and things like that. And so that enemy basically becomes possessed by the Spore Pikmin. And that would be cool. It'd be like the first in the series where like we can actually take control of the enemies. Like full control over the enemies rather than like them just being like acting like Pikmin but just not being Pikmin, which basically were what the Bulbmen were. So I thought that would be a cool idea to have the Spore Pikmin have. Yeah, that's the Spore Pikmin. Let me know in the comments how you feel about these guys, if they're a worthy addition to the Pikmin roster. Alright, let's move on to the next type. Alright, so the next Pikmin we're going to be designing is the green P Pikmin. These guys will actually be really interesting. They won't be very strong. They'll have a very weak attack power, even slightly weaker than the Wing Pikmin, Ice Pikmin, and White Pikmin, making them very bad fighters. However, they will have a unique mechanic that no other Pikmin type has. They will be able to fuse together to become a Pod Pikmin, which will have the ability to shoot the P Pikmin as projectiles at enemies, dealing slightly above average damage than normal. The damage scale is basically, think of like between like yellows and reds, for example. Strong but not too strong. Once the P Pikmin makes contact with an enemy, it'll latch on and deal its very below average damage as usual. Also, players must be careful when managing Pod Pikmin, because if the Pod Pikmin's eaten by an enemy, all the P Pikmin that fused into the pod will die. So let's say it takes 5 P Pikmin to fuse into a Pod Pikmin. So if that Pod Pikmin falls victim to an enemy, all 5 of the P Pikmin will be lost, essentially. I can see this type being helpful for against like flying type enemies like your Puffy Blowhog as this, and then other like flying types like the Snitch Bug. Trying to think of like Shearwigs, things like that. I think the P Pikmin and Pod Pikmin would be very useful, or have cool mechanics to fight against like enemies like that. To kind of add to some more wing combat Pikmin, kind of like the Wing Pikmin are. I can also see them like being really cool again with like puzzles and maps or caves, like where like say there's like you have to like use the Pod Pikmin to shoot the P Pikmin at like targets or something to activate something within the puzzle to be able to get to a treasure piece. So I feel like things like this would make the Pod Pikmin and the P Pikmin a really cool mechanic that I don't think we ever really seen in a Pikmin game. Also, like having a Pikmin type that is able to basically, you can spend the Pikmin to basically get a more advanced type. So like use the P Pikmin to make a Pod Pikmin, which then gives you like the Pikmin more abilities. There's not really a ranged type of Pikmin like that specializes in ranged combat. You kind of got that a little bit with the Rock Pikmin because you throw them at enemies and they kind of bounce off. But I mean like almost like a sniper type of Pikmin. Like the Pod Pikmin would be used to like snipe enemies out of the air and stuff like that. So that would be really cool to have like a range type of Pikmin. I even thought about having like the idea like maybe the Pod Pikmin become almost like pseudo captains in a way, because you can like say the player makes a Pod Pikmin, they can literally just take control of the Pod Pikmin and use it almost like a shooting game. That would be pretty cool. So I also thought about having like the P Pikmin just being more fruitful. So like when you take pellets back to their onion, or when they are taking pellets back to the master onion after you find their original onion, like they make more seeds, so it gives the player more opportunity to make more pod Pikmin. Because you know the P Pikmin on their own is not very impressive. You kind of really want them to create more pod Pikmin. So yeah, just a balancing thing to think about. So just like some cool ideas I've had with like a ranged specialist type of Pikmin. But yeah, that is pretty much the P Pikmin. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about them, if they're pretty cool, or you see them being a cool Pikmin type that could be added to the roster. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get on to the next type and final type for this video. The last type of Pikmin we'll be creating today is the brown prairie Pikmin. These Pikmin types have a very distinct appearance, being the first type to show more physical mammal-like traits such as fur and claws. The prairie Pikmin will have the ability to burrow underground, similar to the burrowing snagret. This ability will be their main mechanic and used for solving puzzles and clearing obstacles unique to them. One example of this are having metal gates that can't be destroyed or controlled via a switch. This allows to have prairie Pikmin burrow under the gates to retrieve treasures. This will be possible because the same way winged Pikmin carry treasures through the air, prairie Pikmin will be able to move treasures underground. There will also be new obstacles in the form of hard soil. Hard soil will be a new obstacle that will require the prairie Pikmin to dig it up, because they will only be the only Pikmin types capable of doing so. So basically, because they have like the long sharp claws, it allows them to chip away at that hard soil to dig through it. There will also be like hard soil piles that treasures are buried under, so it will require like the prairie Pikmin to get specific treasures. And of course, there'll be just efficient diggers as well, which will be basically kind of like the yellow Pikmin, who have like a higher digging speed than other Pikmin types. Prairie Pikmin will also function differently in combat. When thrown onto an enemy directly, they will latch on and attack normally like any other Pikmin, dealing average damage similar to yellows and blues. However, when thrown near an enemy, they will burrow underground and attack from a burrowed state. This will be useful against enemies that burrow under the ground, like say the armored cannon beetle larva, and also the burrowing snagret itself. Like as you can see in this drawing, what's basically happening is that they're uprooting the snagret, so it allows you to follow up with stronger Pikmin types like reds and purples, or your rock Pikmins. Prairie Pikmin, when burrowed, will be vulnerable to enemies still, so they may not be the best Pikmin fighting something like a Bulborb. So like, you know, they'll still be able to be eaten if they're burrowed. However, they will be immune to being crushed, similar to rock Pikmin, so that will be one of their main benefits as well. And yeah, that's pretty much the prairie Pikmin. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about these guys. I think out of all of them, they're probably my favorite. I don't know, I just like the furry look of them. But yeah, that's the prairie Pikmin. I hope you guys enjoyed my ideas for these potential Pikmin types that we could possibly see in the future of the series. And I also added all of these guys to the color spectrum that we were talking about earlier, and seeing them all next to the official types fits so well. It's actually quite amazing. So I'm excited for what the future holds for Pikmin. I absolutely love the Pikmin games, and I can't wait to see what the next game or even DLC for the latest entry will surprise us with. Let me know down in the comment section below which one of these new types is your favorite. I also noticed something while I was making this video. So in Pikmin 1 and 2, the Pikmin were just named after their color, you know, purple and white Pikmin. And red Pikmin, even though they were red, they had physical traits like a nose. But starting in Pikmin 3 onwards, new types were named after a more specific trait pertaining to that type of Pikmin. Notable examples being the Rock, Ice, Glow, and Wing Pikmin. This was a very clever move by Nintendo, because now they set it up in a way that they could introduce Pikmin with similar colors to others, but give them a defining trait that separates them from other types. But yeah, that's just a theory. Again, if you guys really enjoyed the video, leave a like on the video. And if you really loved it, maybe consider subscribing and hitting that bell so you don't miss when I drop next. And it helps the channel out greatly. And it's all for the awesome price of $3.99, my favorite. Also, let me know in the comments if this is something you'd like to see more of, whether it be new Pikmin types or other ideas I have for other game franchises. If you watched to the end, thank you. You're a real one. I truly appreciate you. As always, my friends, let's keep inking our stories together, and I'll see you on the next page. Peace.